Everybody, it's MrMetaverse. Today I want to talk to you about the Vision Pro. Yes, the Vision Pro. You probably haven't heard of it yet. It's this little kind of niche product this little Apple company released, and basically nobody's talking about it. So the reason I want to do another review of the Vision Pro is because I actually recorded a review at the start of this week. And to be quite honest with you, I recorded it on Tuesday, which was literally the morning after Vision Pro was released. And in my review, let's just say that I was less than enthusiastic about what I had seen. But I've taken the time this week to really reconsider my evaluation of the Vision Pro and of Apple's approach to entering the augmented reality and virtual reality realm. And to be honest, I have changed my opinion quite significantly. So let's dive into that now. Let's start by saying that initially I wasn't too impressed with the Vision Pro well, I guess the main reason is that I was really approaching this from my traditional sense of what VR and AR should be and what it is all about. And of course, for the past decade, I've been trying headset after headset. I don't think there's really any headset on the market in terms of virtual reality that I haven't really tried on, even augmented reality. I mean, I even tried HoloLens and stuff like that to get an experience what it would be like or what it could be like. The thing is that doing that and seeing the way the industry has approached all of this, I kind of got into that mindset of having particular expectations. And these expectations would usually be around, how heavy is the device? Is it wireless or not? Is it standalone or not? Is it capable of rendering really high level photorealistic three-dimensional graphics for gaming, right? So there's all of these assumptions that have slowly but surely creeped into my approach to what virtual reality or or augmented reality should be about. And the realization I had is that most of these have to do with gaming. It's all an approach from the gaming angle. The problem with that is that, on the one hand, we have all of these science fiction movies, of course, like Ready Player One, that also, go into experiencing these different worlds, these virtual environments and these adventures, these games, basically. But the problem with that is that that's also like, it's the high end. Right? Think of it like this. When the first car was invented, they didn't invent a Formula One car to go and drive races on the Nuremberg Ring, right? That's not how it went down. The first cars were basically just a step up from your cart and wagon, right? So trying to kind of go straight onto the racing track with these VR, AR headsets is really setting yourself up for failure. And the release of the Vision Pro this week really drove that realization home for me, that what VR has been attempting to do ever since Lucky Palmer came back into the industry and released his Oculus headset, his Rift headset, is that we've basically been trying to go at it from the wrong side. And surprisingly, once I came to that realization, my appreciation for what Apple is doing right now completely changed. So let me explain. So first off, Apple completely sidestepped gaming, right? They didn't talk about it. They didn't really do anything in relation to the Vision Pro about gaming. Yes, of course, in the WWDC keynote, they spoke about, working together with Unity and going into gaming. Yes, but they didn't talk about it in relation to the Vision Pro. And I think that was a very conscious decision of them, because gaming is literally the most complicated thing to realize on a VR, AR headset, because it requires tremendous processing power I don't even think they have right now. And it requires a lot of different stuff, like, for example, having controllers. They did show one particular part of the trailer where they showed that you could integrate it with your PlayStation VR, and then you could, I think it was the PlayStation VR, but it was a console. And then you could just use a gaming controller. But it was just one, it was 2 seconds. And I think this is a conscious decision, because they don't want to have their focus just on gaming, because that presents so many challenges and issues. So that's one thing. By focusing on productivity, by focusing on all kinds of other more mundane things to do with the Vision Pro, they make it easier to actually meet expectations of the target audience and give them an incredible experience, because this is what they're good at. Not just that, it also makes the product and what you could do with the Vision Pro much more appealing appealing to people that aren't into gaming. And let's face it, there's loads of gamers in the world, but there's also a significant amount of people, specifically a little bit older people, you know, not specifically Gen Z, but millennials like myself, or even Gen X before that might be interested in using a product like this, but are just not necessarily interested in gaming with it. And by doing what Apple is doing now, this is actually the first time that any product has been released, be it VR or AR, that makes it appealing to use such a product to people that don't care about gaming. And that is really huge, because my generation and older are also right now the most significant part of the economy. I mean, these are the people that make the most money, that have the most to invest, the most money to spend. So launching a product specifically for this target audience that really meets their expectations, and when they put it on, really blows them away in terms of the experience they have just with simple things like the interaction with the OS and, you know, with simple apps that they already know how to use, is actually quite huge. Because what we're seeing here is we're seeing that Meta and all these other companies that are developing VR headsets are taking a bottom-up approach. They're trying to come up with products that everybody can afford, that don't really excel at anything particularly. They're not really that great. And the reason for that is that they're always making concessions based on price, because they don't want to be too expensive. So they lower the specs. And so nobody has a really mind-blowing experience. What Apple is doing is they said, screw that. We're going to go the other way. We're going to go top down. And so the product that they released today, it's not meant for millions of people to buy. It's meant to anchor their craving. Yes, it's meant to anchor a craving, because once people see this product, even if they only get to try it once, or even like me, I haven't even tried it. I was watching reviews from Marquis Brownlee and Dave 2D, and they had it on, and they talk about the magic of experience, the eye tracking and the clicking. And this made me realize that now I want it. You know, I want to have one, because I want to experience this real future of spatial computing. And I initially thought that term was ridiculous. I thought it was ridiculous, and I burned it to the ground last Tuesday, even on the radio. Now, I'm kind of getting a more nuanced feel for this, because that's another part of what Apple's doing, right? They're reinventing the whole genre. I don't like Apple ecosystem. I really don't like their walled garden approach. I don't like their absolute control. I don't like their 30% margins over everything. I don't like how they're killing innovation for other companies and other startups. But they are doing a really great thing in terms of driving adoption of this technology, because they're showing the world what is possible if we really take this to the next level, which is something nobody's done so far, and which is essential for coming to true adoption of this technology. And they gave everybody something to wish for, something to hope for, something to look forward to, something to put on your Christmas wish list, even if you know you can never afford it. It's something that people will start to save up for just so they can have it. And then once they have it, they'll have this amazing experience of what it can be like to have AR and VR. And the great thing about this is that in some ways, this really is like a mirror of what Google did with Gmail. Even though Gmail was never a premium product, Google said, and they launched Gmail, and they said, well, we're going to launch Gmail with 2 gigabytes of space, when everybody else was offering only 200 megabytes. And they made an incredible product that everybody wanted to have, because it was far better than what anybody else had to offer. Nobody could use that 2 gigabytes right off the bat, right? Nobody had even enough emails to fill it. So there was only the promise, which, and they knew that it wouldn't be filled right away. So they had time to work up to making sure that they would be able to deliver on that promise. And in that specific sense, Apple is doing the same thing. They've made a promise to everybody, and they know not everybody will be able to buy into this right now. So they know that people cannot be too disappointed straight off the bat, because they won't be able to play their favorite games yet, or they won't have an amazing 3-dimensional experience yet somehow. But they gave themselves the time to ensure that those experiences will be there by the time we all make that transition. And that is really huge. Yeah, I have to say, I've really come around. I even feel that the whole thing with spatial computing and the way they position it kind of feels like Star Trek. Even the battery, the way it looks like something from Star Trek. I still don't like that it's a wired battery and you have to put it in your pocket. But I do like the idea that you can just switch out the battery very easily. I like the idea that you can easily have this cable that you can hook up to a wall outlet or to your MacBook Pro or whatever, so that your headset has power. And I think even that if they had that well executed, because they have this nice braided cable, it could be a million times better than anything we've seen so far with the cabled connections of previous headsets. Look, I still have my doubts, right? I do. And like I said, I don't like Apple's walled garden approach. I don't trust them to do the right thing with my data, even though they promise they don't give it to anybody else. That doesn't mean they're not using it against me. I also know that they had literal developers doing research into how they can mind read what we're doing to get a better prediction, but they also experimented with subliminal messaging in the headset, showing you an image of something so you don't consciously register, but it influences your state of mind. And I think all of that is really crazy, scary stuff, you know? But you can't have all the good without any of the bad. I mean, that's just how it is, right? So I've come around. I'm a believer. It's hard to admit this. I was not a believer at the start of this week. I didn't even try the headset on, but from what I've seen, if anything, I'd have to say that their marketing is phenomenal, because they managed to convince me that they are building on the future of AR. And in that respect, they are making the thing that I've been predicting now for years come true. They have finally made the final move that will ensure that we are going to transition within a decade away from laptops, away from smartphones, into the new age of virtual reality, augmented reality, or spatial computing, whatever you want to call it, the metaverse. It really doesn't matter what we call it. The thing to know is that we're going to transition from two-dimensional to three-dimensional interactions in the digital space, further integrating our digital and physical lives in a way that makes it meaningful and frictionless. And this is something that Mark Zuckerberg has talked about. This is something that I've talked about. And this is something that Tim Cook has talked about. The thing is just that we're going about it differently in terms of execution. And I honestly think that what Apple is doing now is actually a very valuable contribution to building the right mindset with the consumer, with us, the end user, to make that transition frictionless and make it so that people can actually get along with it. Because in some ways, what VR and AR have been up until this point was just too hard for people to adjust to. Most people, you know, the novel ideas and new ways of interacting are just not something that sits well with people. It's a hard transition to make. And up until this moment, it was too hard. But Apple is now paving a way for people to make that transition in a way that they can move forward, but not too fast. I think maybe that might be the best thing that we've seen happening in VR and AR in the last 5 years, at least since maybe the release of the first Oculus. So there you have it. Mr. Metaverse changed his mind, which I try to do often because that is the best way of developing true insights, questioning the world, never having an opinion that is too set in stone, being flexible. Anyway, that's it for now. Mr. Metaverse signing off, and like they say in the Netherlands, see you later. Oh, yeah, don't forget to like, subscribe, comment. I mean, if you want to help me out, create more of this content, if you want to help me out, teach and educate and inspire more people about all these incredible developments going on, it's a little effort for you, but it's a monumental help for me. Follow, click that bell icon so that you're always in the know, comment on my posts. I do really appreciate it, and I always try to answer personally. So, thanks very much, and like to say in the Netherlands, see you later.